Things started great for the Beavs in the big house, but the good times didn't last. We'll talk with Coach Anderson about what worked, what didn't, and what his team's takeaway was from the trip to Ann Arbor. And a look ahead to San Jose State. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. Let's go. Here we go.
Toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
It was a 21-yard touchdown strike from Seth Collins to Hunter Jarman that got Beaver fans excited as the opening drive went down for 7 points and a score in the big house in Michigan. Welcome in to Beavers Inside the Huddle from the Flat Tail Brewing Studios. I'm Dusty Harrell along with Steve Priest. And Steve, that start, it doesn't get much better than what they did in Ann Arbor.
No, Dusty, it doesn't. I love Dave Baldwin's opportunities there at first. He got in the zone, an inside zone, early for some good yardage. Then he got in the fly sweep. It brought the whole offense together through 3 passes that looked super. You take a look right there at Chris Brown, and he's running like crazy, and then they bring receivers inside. Great catch by Jordan Villeman. The fly sweep was utilized. Everything was in there to show him that what ends up as a big touchdown play after the fake on a fly sweep to go 7-0.
We saw plays of 21, 26, 21 on the first drive alone, and that was the scoring drive. I'd say that the scripted plays from Dave Baldwin worked, but then Michigan got the ball.
Well,
hey, but it started well for the Beavs when Michigan got the ball, as Ramel Mayo, am I saying that?
McGow. Yep.
Comes up with a huge sack, and Oregon State gets the ball back. And then this happened. And this is where it started going downhill for the Beavs. And after what was a great start to the game, a promising start to the game, the wheels really started falling off for Oregon State. And we'd like to sit up here and talk about that first drive and the first defensive series as much as we could. But the Beavs stalled out in a big way.
They did. You know, the good thing, though, is the Beavers were pretty much in it in the first half. They were starting out, and they led for a while, and then it was 7-3, and then 10-7. They still had everything going for them right up until about 2 minutes before the half. And this is after a penalty. And wow, it's kind of like a reverse Hail Mary, I guess.
And well, what you saw there, I mean, you saw field position flip 94 yards.
Yes.
And they pin him inside the 2, and then all of a sudden they give him the ball at the 4-yard line. I mean, that's a tough thing for, I don't care if you're talking about the worst team in the world, the worst Pee-wee team in the world, or the best NFL team in the world. Anytime you flip 94 yards of field position, that's a tough thing for any defense to rebound from.
Well, and the defense have been playing very well in that first half, and they had them on the 2-3-yard line, 3 timeouts remaining. They could have called timeouts. The chances are the Beavers are going to get back inside of 1.25 minutes with timeouts remaining and plenty of time to score.
Hey, you've been on teams on both sides of the ball. You were a quarterback at Oregon State. You played defense in the NFL. You know that there's something on both sides, or when you smell blood, you go ahead and you go for it. And one thing that Jim Harbaugh has always prided himself on, whether it's at Stanford, the 49ers, or now at Michigan, is that power running game.
Yeah, and you know, you see it in the second half, particularly when Harbaugh just decides that he can run with his big offensive lineman. And this guy, Devion Smith, 230 pounds, he ends up with nearly 150 yards, and they just run through people. And the Beavs tackled so darn well the first week of the season in the first half. And Coach says that this week the Beavers were trying to pull the ball loose and a lot of things like that, but no excuse for that. You got to go back to technique, the technical stuff, the detail of assignment to win at football, particularly on defense.
Always trying to create extra opportunities, right? I mean, sometimes you try a little bit too hard, and that's when those big runs end up popping and really making something out of nothing, and we saw that a few times.
Yeah, the special opportunities need to come from the second or third or fourth guy hitting that particular ball carrier, not the first guy with an arm tackle and trying to pull it out, that's for sure.
We're just getting underway here on Beavers Inside the Huddle. Coach Gary Anderson will join us. We are going to start breaking down San Jose State later on in the show. Well, let's talk about some of those good plays next as we bring Coach Anderson in and talk about what was a fantastic first offensive drive. Beavers Inside the Huddle continuing right here on Comcast Sports. Welcome back into Beavers Inside the Huddle. There it is, a tough day in Ann Arbor, Oregon State. 138 yards of total offense, 79 through the air, 59 through the ground. Meanwhile, the Wolverines with 405 yards of total offense. Steve Priest, what are you thinking? What stands out to you on the stat line from last weekend?
Well, the thing that stands out most is that 138 yards. There were 136 in the first quarter. So the Beavers had some real good things happen in the first quarter. They played a solid first half in all ways right down to the last couple of minutes. And then it turned a little bit bad, and we saw a different side of Beaver football in the second half.
Well, let's bring in the coach, Gary Anderson, joining us live from Corvallis. Coach, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fine, guys. How are you?
Doing very well. We got a couple plays drawn up. Steve Priest, as we head over to the In Focus Mondo pad. It is collaboration that works. What do you got first for us, Coach?
Coach, we're going to talk about Oregon State's good stuff right off the bat. We're going to talk about that first series that was so solid. A lot of plays, and we take a look at this first one. This is the 7th play. You've already gone down the field in less than 2 minutes, if you will. 6 solid plays to date. You've run the ball. You've had 2 plays already over 20 yards, and we see this one. And this is going to come off the fly sweep, which was successful earlier. You're going to get solid blocking here across the way. Now, pass pattern, you're going to get on the outside. You're going to get coming down on a bit of a rub here. Inside the old out and up that everybody in the world runs. A great job of blocking over here, and just a fine throw from your young quarterback. Puts it right on the money. There's the good fake. I like Chris Brown out there working, and look at this catch. Excellent. Hunter Jarman makes a great catch, great play. As the game goes on, we get to the third quarter.
Now, Coach, as we sit there and we look at that opening drive, and you guys march down the field, gains the 26, 21, and then that 21-yarder. What was it that was clicking for you guys right off the bat in that first series?
Well, the bottom line, we were making plays, you know, and you have to make those plays when you get the opportunity. And Coach Baldwin, Coach McGivern, the offensive staff do a great job of getting the opener set and settled for the kids, and they felt very good about them. But there was still some tremendous execution. There was great blocking on the fly sweep. The offensive line protected when they need to. You throw the ball up, it's right in the back of the end zone where only one guy can catch it, and that's our guy. And so, you know, that's what you need on offense to be able to continually move down the field. That drive was exactly what we drew up and exactly the way we wanted it to be. So I was proud of the way they came out, handled the moment, and executed early in that football game.
A lot of Bee fans excited on that opening drive, but as we move on to the game, Coach, what do you have teed up for us in that third quarter you were talking about?
We're going to talk about this good Michigan team and the power running that they did. We're in third quarter now. The Beavs are down, and Michigan has really started to establish their running game, Coach, and they run a power. You can almost see this left guard. He's already bailing out, but he's going to come across and get a great block. You're going to get people coming downfield all the way along the line blocking, and you're going to get a great kick-out block by this fullback. He doesn't get touched until he's downfield about 8 or 10 yards, and it becomes a 21-yard gain. Great blocking up front. Difficult guy to bring down, 230 pounds. He ended up with 150 yards or just about, Coach, and the Beavers just couldn't hold on to Devion Smith in the second half.
Coach, one of the things that you said on that, running the power play, at postgame you said they may have set a record for you. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. What made Michigan so efficient in running that power play against you guys?
You know, they have a physical offensive line. They have a fullback that's very willing to get a kick-out block. And, you know, quite frankly, if you can't set the edge on the power play, you're not going to have any success at all. And that's exactly what took place. We were getting moved on the line of scrimmage. I felt like our backers were flowing over the top, getting in position. But you can't flow over the top when you got defensive linemen in your lap at 2 or 3 yards deep. And if you don't have somebody that's willing to go in there and meet up with that fullback face-to-face, then you're going to have some major issues. And that is why it's called the power play. It's big boy football. You've got to get yourself in the moment. You've got to be able to handle that. So, with, you know, that game and that situation, it forced us to take another look at ourselves in the mirror and understand exactly what personnel is best to be out there in those situations. We've adjusted some few things, so hopefully that works. But it's, you know, football is not a voluntary tough guy sport, and just to run around and look pretty sometimes isn't good enough. You've got to get yourself in position to be able to play physical tough guy football, snap after snap, and that's exactly what we expected. That's what we got ourselves into, and we didn't answer the bell as coaches. coaches, and we didn't answer the bell as players. So we have to work at it. You know, I love the kids, but at some point we've got to look at ourselves and say, let's go. This is it's a man's game. Let's go play it the right way.
Coach, you played a lot of four-man line for the first time this year. Were you satisfied with it? How much more will we see than in the normal situation?
Well, I think you'll see us when people get the bigger personnel groups with us. It's been a little bit exposed now to where, you know, our speed is on the outside edges is we're better off with being 4 down and holding the point of attack with some 4 down kids when we get into two back, 1 tight end situations, or we get into 2 tight ends and 1 back situations. And we need to find the comfort level of the defense and not just try to say, hey, we're going to play the odd front because we want to play the odd front. We'll play the odd front when the time presents itself. When people get into more shotgun things and we get into the Pac-12 schedule, you're going to see us play more 3 down situations. But in this game, we'll be odd and even front, but you'll see us with 4 defensive linemen in the field. It's our best players, and it gives us the best opportunity to be able to compete and win football games. And, you know, when a young man deserves to be on the field, he's going to be on the field. If that means we need to adjust the scheme, then we'll adjust the scheme.
Coach, we got a couple questions coming in on Twitter for you this evening. As one of the big questions that people had, and this one comes from Alex, is Storm Bars Woods. Is he ready to play? Will he play the entire game this week? I know you addressed it earlier this week about the knee injury and him not being ready to go. What's his status as of Thursday evening?
Well, Storm's exactly where he was a week ago. You know, he practiced limited last week. He's practiced this week. We've now established a plan for Storm. Storm wants to compete so much. He wants to practice every day. He wants to work every day. He needs to understand he does not have the knee of an 18-year-old anymore. It needs to be rehab to prevent the prehab, if you will, as we go through there, and prehab to prevent the rehab, and he'll learn how to handle that knee. We walked into that game as of Friday night. Saturday morning, we expected Storm to be ready to go, but as we always are going to, we're going to put the players first. If a player feels compromised in any way, shape, or form to go out on that field, we're not going to put him out there on the field. I believe that's the job of the trainers, the doctors, and the coaches, and we followed our procedure in that setting of exactly how Storm felt. I expect him to play this week. If Storm thinks he's good and ready to go, then he'll get himself out there on the field and participate. We need him. Storm wants to be there. We all want him to be there, so hopefully he'll get himself out there on the field, but we are always going to listen to the players first.
We're not done with Coach Gary Anderson. We got keys to the game coming up, but next we take a look at San Jose State. Spartans coming into Reser Stadium this weekend. What to expect as Beavers Inside the Huddle continues right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Up next for the Beavs is San Jose State and their workhorse running back Tyler Irving, who went 12 carries, 121 yards, and a touchdown against Air Force this last weekend. A tough test coming in, a good stair step as the Beavs head into Pac-12 play, along with the coach Steve Priest and the coach Gary Anderson. I'm Dusty Hare, and this is Beavers Inside the Huddle. And we head back to the Mondo pad. Coach, what do you got teed up for us here to talk with Coach Anderson about?
Coach, we've got to go back to that first drive. It was so well done at the first of the game, but this is the kind of thing that the Beavers are going to have to run. If we take a look, this is first play of the game, and this guy, you mentioned him earlier talking about Storm and the replacement. Chris Brown did a great job. Comes through this is just a straight inside zone all the way along. You get good blocking, excellent across here. It's early in the game, first play, and it turns out to be a very solid run, 21 yards.
That cutback right there is really just unbelievable, and a great start to what the Beavs wanted to do early.
Well, Chris made something out of nothing right there, Coach. He did an excellent job, and this is second play, and everything goes so well for the fly. And this is Victor coming across. You get Chris Brown leading. Again, does a great job. Solid blocking all the way around, and an excellent cut up the field. Takes it in and out with Victor making a fine move, and it eventually became a touchdown pass, if you recall, the fake later on in this same series. Look at the cut up. Again, solid, over 20 yards. That's the second 20-yard play in just a few minutes. That's the kind of thing I'm expecting we'll see more of against this San Jose State team and try to establish it and keep it rolling.
And Coach, you know, you're saying, Coach Priest and Coach Anderson, you can elaborate on this, is that the explosion plays the key to what Dave Baldwin wants to do offensively. And we saw 3 of 20 yards or more. Is that kind of the bread and butter of what the Oregon State Beavers offense will be moving forward, as Steve Priest wants to see more of them against San Jose State this weekend?
Well, I think we all want to see more of those plays without question, but you need to get yards in chunks on any offense. I don't care if it's a pro offense, if you're running the spread, whatever it may be, you need to get chunk yardage, and the opportunities for that was there early for us. We executed some plays very well, and some young men made some special plays, and you know, that's what this game is all about, is giving those kids an opportunity to get in space and let them go and let their God-given ability take over, and that's what you saw in that first drive. So, you know, big plays are a part of it. I think we had 3 big plays on the whole day, and that was those 3 basically the plays that we've watched, and there needs to be more if we're going to be effective on offense. We have to be able to run the football with a physical nature and be able to get those backs going and, you know, get them lathered up a little bit and hit those holes and those creases, but then we are looking for those big chunk yardage plays that allow us to move down the field quickly. As we move forward and start taking a look at San Jose State and the threat that they pose, I mean, they go in, get a win out of the gate against New Hampshire, fall to Air Force this past weekend. What are some goals that you're looking for to improve week to week as we enter week 3 for the Beavs? Well, if we look at our offense, we want to establish a run game and a consistent, solid run game. That's key. It's going to be vital. We will never be a contender in any way, shape, or form, get ourselves to bowl games, have successful seasons if we can't establish the run game. So that is a must. Number 2, when opportunity presents itself, our kids need to take advantage of those, similar to what you saw in the first drive. There's 6 or 7 opportunities out there that we left. We need to coach those opportunities better for those kids, and then the young men need to execute better in those situations. And then on the offense, I wanted to see them react to adversity a little bit better. When things aren't going their way, somebody needs to step up and make a play and put us in position to be able to understand that we're not just one-dimensional. In the second half of the last game, we weren't dimensional on throwing the ball, running the ball, protecting, run blocking, nothing. And so we've got to get over that hump first. But we have to be an offense that stretches the field vertically and stretches the field horizontally with our throw game and our pass game. Defensively, I'm looking for these kids to bounce back. You know, our whole team should have an edge amongst themselves without question. But you know, it takes a lot of pride out of you when you get into a position like that and people can just run the ball at you at will. I'm not used to being around that. You know, our coaches aren't used to it. I'm sure these kids don't want to get used to it in any way, shape, or form. But if we're going to put ourselves again in position on defense to be successful, you have to stop the run first, and then you'll put yourself in a position to be able to rush the passer and make plays in the back end on the defensive side. But if you can't, you'll see nothing but the run until you find a way to get it stopped.
Coach, this is a big weekend. A lot of kids coming back to campus, and you have a big weekend too. It's a large recruiting weekend for Oregon State. You're expecting to see a lot of kids there, and what will this bring as far as your recruiting is concerned?
Well, this is a big recruiting weekend for us, no question. And, you know, recruiting is, besides taking care of kids, number 2 is recruiting in our program as far as the belief of our coaching staff. And if you want to be great, you want to be good, you want to be elite, you've got to have excellent players and elite players to get ourselves to where we need to be to compete. And this is a big weekend for us. We have a lot of quality young men. Our numbers this year are very limited. You know, 10, maybe 11 seniors graduating as we go through. So that gives us right now 3 or 4 spots left with the young men that we already have committed. So it's a big weekend. We need to make the right decisions as coaches, but I'm excited for them to come in here. The weather's going to be great. You know, many people, my recruiting guys have said that, you know, this is one of the best weekends ever. So I don't know how you gauge that, but I'm going to go with it and say I'm very excited about the kids that are coming in here, not just the official visitors, but the guests that are coming in, especially from in the state of Oregon. We have a number of young men, 25+ young men coming in from the state of Oregon, and it's special to have those young men on our campus for a football game. And as we continue to emphasize our own state first in recruiting and move from there.
Recruiting, the lifeblood of every program. Coach, good luck with the recruiting weekend and this week with San Jose State coming into Reser Stadium.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time as always. Go Beavs.
Thank you.
All right, as we continue on with Beavers inside the huddle, we give you our keys to the game as San Jose State Spartans head into Corvallis for an early kick in Reser. Steve Priest, plug your ears as hashtag Ducks football is on at 8 o'clock on Friday. You can unplug them now because right after that at 9 o'clock, it's hashtag Beavers football. CSM game day Saturday morning getting you started 9 a.m. followed by plug your ears again. Ducks post game live after the Oregon game, and then Monday the guys at Talkin' Ball will wrap everything up. We're loaded with program here on Comcast Sportsnet for football season. Anything you want, you can get right here as we are here in the Flat Tail Brewing Studios. Beavers inside the Huddle. Let's get to them right now. It's time to unveil our keys to the game, brought to you by our local Northwest Honda dealers. All right, we're going to start out. I don't know why I get top billing in this, but for me, number one is success on third down for Seth Collins. I got a chance to talk with Dave Baldwin, the offensive coordinator, on Wednesday morning, and one thing that he said that they're really looking at is development on third down. The Beavs only go 1 for 11 on third down, and it's big for Seth to improve on that down. Force San Jose State to throw the ball. That team, for as good as they were on the ground last week against Air Force, it's a struggle for them to get the ball through the air as well. So that's number 2 for me. Number 3, get the ball in Jordan Villeman's hands. It kind of goes hand in hand with third down in Seth Collins' success. But Jordan Villeman, that kid can change ball games when the ball's in his hands.
Well, you like the speed receivers. You're talking about receivers and the running game and everything else. And my keys are a little bit different. My keys relate a lot more to the lines and the strength of those lines. So my keys for this week are going to end up, first of all, you got to, on defense, go back to the technical, fundamental type of football, the detail of the assignment. The Beavers have to stop the run. They have to tackle well. These big guys up front, whether it's 3-4, 4-3, have to stop a great running back they'll see this week. The offensive line on the other side of the ball, carry the day. They've got to carry the day, establish a running game. The Beavers, when they get the zone inside or outside moving, when they get the fly sweep going, everything goes well, and we get to see a lot more of Seth Collins on the option. And you've got to win special teams, and particularly you got to stop the penalties on special teams, Dusty. It's really was difficult to watch. Not only the one we saw down by the goal line before the snap, but also the large penalty with Ramal Dockery's 50-yard penalty on a return.